Aloha, my name is Anna Covert, and I'm coming to you from my battleship here on the beautiful island of Oahu. This week on the Covert Code, the topic is building authority through publishing at scale. My very special guest is Adam Witty, a six-time author, speaker, consultant, and founder and CEO of Advantage, the authority company, the driving force behind the Forbes Book brand, as well as a plethora of other award-winning imprints. Today, Adam's here to share how he turned a spare room startup into a global publishing enterprise, helping thousands of leaders turn their ideas into influence, including your podcast host. Thanks so much for being here today, Adam.
Anna, my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
So to kick us off, I'd like to ask all of our guests for the Cliff Notes version of the Adam story. So how did you get from this spare room startup to where we are today, which is just a big journey?
Okay, so Cliff Notes version. Never in a million years did I think that I would be in the publishing business. I was a reader as a kid, but publishing and making books was never something on my radar screen. My senior year in high school, my parents say, Adam, you have to get a job this summer. And through chance, I had an opportunity for a paid internship at a publishing company. What I thought I might hate, I ended up finding very interesting. So interesting that I came back the next year for another summer of work. I go off to college. My mentor, who was a very well-known business leader in Central Florida, which is where I grew up, he had written and published a number of books. And in short, the books kind of made him famous. He and I are having lunch one day. I'm a senior in college. And he said, Adam, you should start a publishing company for entrepreneurs and CEOs. All of them have incredible knowledge and wisdom. They truly are the expert and authority on their thing, but people don't know that. So they have to write the book and share their wisdom with the world, which will make them the authority. And he said, Adam, you can be their Sherpa and you can help them make it a reality. I graduate from Clemson. I know I want to try and be an entrepreneur, do something on my own. And so I go back to that conversation I had with my mentor, Pat Williams, and I said, all right, let's give it a go. I'm going to start a publishing company. In 2005, July 19th, 2005, I opened the doors to Advantage. I had never published a book on my own alone before in my life. And as they say in entrepreneurship, you just figure it out. And, you're kind of flying the airplane as you're building it, right? And you embrace it. And, you're going to fall down, which I did plenty of times, and you got to pick yourself up and dust yourself off and just keep going. So that was 2005. Fast forward 20 years. This year was our 20th anniversary. Today, we are the largest independent business publisher in America. Our prominent publishing brands are Forbes Books, which is with Forbes magazine, Entrepreneur Books, which is with Entrepreneur magazine, and South by Southwest Books, which is with the famed tech and media conference, South by Southwest. So we truly represent the best in business. Our authors are CEOs, entrepreneurs, and leaders who are truly the thought leaders in their field, and we're helping them amplify and share their message at scale.
Indeed you are. And wow. So how did you get this idea to approach Forbes? That was your first big imprint, right?
Yeah, it was really a major coup in the success of our business. So somewhat by chance, I get connected to a senior executive at Forbes. And I say to this individual, you guys are the biggest business magazine in the world. I'm surprised that you don't publish business books. And the person laughed at me and they said, Adam, selling magazines is hard enough. We don't want to try to figure out how to sell books too. And I said, well, what if the model was a little bit different? Meaning, what if your authors were exclusively CEOs, entrepreneurs, and leaders. And yes, they're selling lots of books, but the book is really a platform for them to share their thought leadership at scale. And thus the economics and the business model are different. And they said, okay, tell us more. We're intrigued by that. And I said, well, what if we took the Advantage engine and put the Forbes brand and media ecosystem on top of it? 1 + 1 could equal 10. And you bring what you guys are experts at to the table. We bring what we're experts at to the table. And this could be a beautiful business. And they said, okay, this makes a lot of sense. So we launched in November of 2016. So we are at 9 years working together, and it's been a beautiful thing. It's been one of the most successful business imprints over the last 9 years in the business publishing space. And of course, for me, the joy is I get to work with really neat people like you to help share your wisdom at scale.
Wow, that's a great story. So, what do you think has changed about authorship or, in the last 20 years? I mean, before when you first started, really, there wasn't this internet that we're talking about right now. I mean, there was
Right.
websites were used as digital brochures, and now we've, gone through multiple rounds of kind of changes of culture. What are your thoughts on where books stand today versus where they were?
Yeah, a lot has changed, and I would actually argue that books are even more important today than they were 20 years ago. And I'll share a couple of things with you. Number one, I don't think books are going anywhere anytime soon. And maybe you say, well, I'm just an old soul, but if you walk into anybody's home, one of the most valued pieces of real estate in a person's home is their bookshelf. And if you think about the bookshelf, in some ways, it's a way for them to share with their friends and their most intimate companions. This is who I am as a person, right? These are the topics that interest me. This is what I'm learning about. And that's a very deep and personal connection when you share that with others. The second thing is if you go into any city in America, but any city around the world, the most valuable piece of real estate is probably where the library is, right? You look at New York City, and the New York Public Library is in the smack dab middle of Manhattan, the most valuable piece of real estate on the entire peninsula of Manhattan, right? And, in Charleston, South Carolina, where I live, the library is on the most prominent street in the city, right? And so we as a culture, we as people, we value books. They are vessels for knowledge that are passed, in many cases, from generation to generation to generation. So first of all, I don't think that's going to go out of vogue and out of style in my and your lifetime. Secondly, I actually believe books are more important today than they were even 20 years ago because books are a way, number one, to pass knowledge to the next generation. But for the author, it's also a way to authentically share with an audience who you are, what you know, and in some cases, what you believe. And in a world that will be dominated more and more by artificial intelligence, uh, authentic human connection, I believe, becomes more important, not less. And that is what a book is able to do for a person. So I think that the golden age for books is here and will continue for some time. And while there will be challenges and there will be lots of change, ultimately, I really believe that the staying power of a book is greater than any form of media or communication, period.
Well, I agree with you, and I think that one thing that I've struggled with a little bit was the finality of a book, right? Or it feels like this finality of the book, like it's when you pour your heart and soul into it, and then there it is, and you're holding it, and it's there, and then but then what next, right? And that's why you can never write just one book, right?
That's right.
But I think that that's okay. It's also like just like social media was supposed to do, it was supposed to be a life stream, which meant these are different things that are important to us in our lifetime, and that creates this remembrance, right? I think the same thing is true of a book, like people ask me, oh gosh, digital marketing's changed so much since you've even published it. And that's the case, but that is the remembrance of where I was then. Right.
That's right.
And yeah, and I think that that's really exciting. And I agree with you that that's really what's more trustworthy in today's day and age.
Well, every nonfiction book ultimately represents a moment in time, right? And so we as living, breathing people, as things change, books need to change, be updated, second, third editions. But to your point, Anna, as a nonfiction author, your motivation for writing a book is to be a teacher, to share what you know with others, to help them prosper. And what you knew, man, 3, 4 years ago when your first book came out and what your body of work was is very different than what it is today. It's advanced, it's accelerated, it's much bigger and broader today than it was 4 years ago. And so what that means is that what you have to teach and what you have to contribute to the world is a lot bigger than it was before. And there's another book in there.
Yeah. Well, and actually, Adam, it's just last year that we published my book.
Jeez,
We can say that part one more time.
do you see all the gray hair up here? There's a reason.
It feels like an eternity to me too, but yeah, it was actually just June of last year, which is really wild to me because I think it's almost part of it because of how fast things move, right? Because when I first came to Forbes and pitched it, which was 2 years ago, right now, actually, it was when I got my book deal was in November of 2023. And it was because I was devastated by what was going on in the industry, right? And I had people crying to me on the phone, and I'm like, someone's got to do something, and it's going to be me because no one else is going to step up to it. But even since we published it, even now, I mean, it's even worse, right? It's the 30% of fraud has turned into 60% of fraud. And I think that that's what's happening is it's this acceleration of everything. And that's why the books really matter even more, right? Because it is that you can always look back to see where were we, and that it's not going to be modified by AI, right? It can't be changed. It can't be taken out of production. The only thing we can do is burn the book, right? And there's been plenty of times in history where we did.
Right. Well, and to your point with AI, right? As AI, I believe, makes a lot of education less personal and less intimate because people are simply going to AI to get answers as opposed to really trying to learn for themselves to come to the answer on their own. That's where I think the importance of books actually elevates and goes up. It doesn't go down. Also, as AI creates more transactional relationships between humans and in many ways, makes things even less personal than they were before, I think that the power of books and the power of an author as a human connecting with a reader and sharing what they know with others, the importance of that goes up. And finally, as a business leader, the need to stand out, the need to dramatically differentiate yourself from others, and the need to be authentic and be seen as an authentic leader is even more important. AI will make that more important. And that's what authorship and books can do for people.
I think you're right. And what are your thoughts on, now everyone is using ChatGPT and these other systems. And I know that Forbes and other big media companies, because of copyright infringement, started blocking or gating some of these AIs from using our content, right? Which I'm fully approve of or, endorse. My thought though is, where do we stand with, what are we feeding this AI? And if people are starting to change their learning and their behavior and replacing the old way with this new way, is there a reason that maybe, is there any plans for authority or advantaged companies to have an AI that is fed by real authors that we know are vetted?
Yeah, well, to your point with AI, number one, AI is only as good as the information that's fed into it. So if the information that's fed into it is inaccurate and wrong, then that's what it's going to feed you back, right? So the blind trust that people are putting in this is what AI says can be misplaced. Like that's where you really have to do your homework and not just trust what is given to you. So that would be the first thing. The second thing that I would say is my view on AI is it is a tsunami wave that is coming, and fighting it, I think, is the wrong strategy. I mean, I like to say, look, if you're in the publishing business, if you're in the writing business, you have the choice to either look at AI as a friend or a foe. And if you choose to see it as a foe, I know what's going to happen, and that is you're going to lose.
Yeah.
If you see AI as a friend, which is, hey, how do I leverage AI, take its most positive attributes, and use that to make books better, then I think that's a strategy that you can win at.
Mhm.
And so at Advantage and Forbes Books specifically, we've said, look, we don't use AI to make books. We use AI to make books better, right? And if you talk to anybody on our editorial team, if a book is truly created with AI, I don't mean making a book better with AI. I mean, like, hey, I'm going to just have AI write my manuscript. Our editors can spot it from 10 miles away.
Oh yeah.
Now look, years from now, that may not be the case. I'm only telling you what is today, but it goes back to authenticity, right? Humans crave authentic connection with other humans. And if you're simply pushing the easy button to have an LLM create a manuscript for you, number one, much of it is it's probably copyright infringed content.
Yes.
Number two, the joy of being an author is knowing the sacrifice that you made to create this book. And,
Right.
and as you know, Anna, it is a huge sacrifice. And so if all you now do is push a button and AI spits out a 50,000 word manuscript that you're going to slap your name on, we've completely destroyed and degraded the entire intellectual artistic process of creation. And shame on all of us, right? Because the true worthiness of accomplishing great things goes completely out the window. So I think it's imperative as a publisher that AI becomes a friend, not a foe, and knowing what are the limits and how do we use it. And for everybody listening, I would say that if you want to build your authority, if you want to be a teacher sharing valuable content, there's a lot of ways that AI can help you do it. But if your thought is, well, I'm going to just have AI do it all for me, then you're approaching it with the wrong mindset.
I think 100%. And I think that there's that like sniff test, right? Because I mean, the reason we want to build authority through authorship, right, is beyond just you're not trying to sell a book, right? I mean, that sure, we're trying to sell books, but that's not why most people do it, right? Most leaders are doing it for the credibility, but also as a platform to be able to attract other things like speaking engagements or corporate trainings. And the second someone's going to be like, oh yeah, you could be the keynote speaker and you get up there on stage, if AI wrote your book, guess what? It's good. People are going to know right away, you know?
Well, yeah, absolutely. So many people have said to me, the process of writing a book gave me such clarity of message and purpose, more so than anything I've ever done.
Yeah.
So if you take the easy route and just have AI do it, then when you get up on stage to speak, when you get interviewed on CNBC, you're going to be a complete mess, right? A book, the process of creating a book refines the ideas from the person and makes them better. And if you bypass that process, you're only setting yourself up to fail with all of the doors that are opened as a result of having a book.
Right. And like, I guess one way so someone who's listening right now could use AI to start the process could be, you could talk to AI about what things you're most proud of. These are some things you've done in your business or your mission to help others. For me, it's about protecting people from digital fraud or other different types of fraud in general. But, what is that thing that you get up for every day? What makes your vision different? We call them leverageable points of difference. What makes you different than a competitor? Because if you don't know what that is today, AI is going to tell your customer tomorrow. It's called GEO, right? Generative Engine Optimization, which is like the new birth. So really getting clear on what makes you different, what you stand for, and how that story could embetter others. I think AI could then maybe even help you with some, this could be your roadmap for writing a book.
Well, and here's the one thing. This is where AI really becomes your friend, and this is why thought leadership is so important. So one of the things I ask all the time is I'll say to an entrepreneur, a CEO, or business leader, I'll say, are you an operator with something to sell, or are you a thought leader with something to teach?
Mm-hmm.
And people sure do love to learn, right? But people don't want to be sold. Right?
Yeah,
That
right.
they want to learn and educate themselves to become better buyers. And when you are creating content, whether it's books, whether it's articles, whether it's podcasts, whether it's blog posts, whether it's social media, when you're creating content with the mission of being a thought leader who's teaching people, AI picks that up. And when I query it and ask for solutions, it's going to reference the thought leader, not the salesman. And this is where AI really can become your friend and as a thought leader, give you a leg up of the person who before was beating you only because they were spending more on advertising.
It's true. Yeah, it is definitely an equalizer. And that's where, if now everyone can have good copy even on their website, right, using some AI to write that, well, it goes right back to, well, what is your unique differentiator? Because everyone's going to look the same suddenly. But if you've written a book, or what other ideas do you have for becoming an authority?
Yeah. Well, let's start kind of with ground zero, which is I'm going to challenge everybody listening to Google their name. And when you Google your name, I'm going to ask this question. Do you need to pack a lunch? And what I mean is there is so much that I'm going to find, I'm going to get hungry. Most entrepreneurs, if I Google their name, they're ghosts. I can't find anything meaningful about them. And Anna, if you have a more common name, when I Google your name, I don't even find you. I find the other 10 people that have the same name as you.
Right.
And what everybody needs to remember is the four biggest search engines in the US are number one, Google, number two, YouTube, number three, Bing, and number four, Amazon. So everybody begins their buying journey online.
Yes.
And when they type your name into Google, when they type your company's name into Google, what they immediately find is the make or break moment of whether they're going to move forward or whether they're going to move on. And most entrepreneurs don't realize how much business they're actually losing because the lead never comes to fruition because after that first query, they're already gone, right? So let's start there. How discoverable are you online? And remember, people buy people. They don't buy corporations. And people refer people. They don't refer corporations, right? Anna, if you have a friend that says, hey, I really want to do a book, you're probably not going to say, oh, go call Forbes Books. You're going to say, oh, you should call Adam.
Right.
And as soon as you give them my name, they're going to type my name into a search engine and see what they can find,
Yes.
right? So
Yes.
that is critically important for people to realize that what the internet says about you matters more than you think. And you can proactively and intentionally drive the narrative of what people are going to find about you.
Yes,
Now,
that's
it
true.
takes work, but you can do it.
It sure does. I mean, and there's like, as I do for a living, you can pay to play, right?
Mhm.
But no matter what, it's going to be work, right? You're going to have to, and time is money. People are like, oh, I don't want to do advertising. Okay, well, then you got to start getting really good at content generation.
That's right.
And you exactly. And what are your thoughts on some of this, really deep faking of, now we're talking about authority and we're here, you and I, this is the real Anna, this is the real Adam.
That's
Right.
right.
But now I'm getting a lot of, inquiries and interest in people creating like an AI Anna. Right.
Yeah.
What have you had anyone approach you yet? And what are your thoughts on what this looks like?
Yeah. So I'm going to answer your question with a lesson on authority that I think is very valuable. So we believe that there are three forms of media. There is owned media, there is earned media, and there is rented media.
Mm.
Now, a quick definition for your listeners. Owned media, well, that's content that you own and you control. So it's your book, it's your personal brand website. For me, it's adamwitty.com.
Yes.
It's your blog, it's your newsletter, right? This is content that you own, that you control, in which you directly engage with your audience. Okay. And owned media is the hardest media because you have to create it.
Yeah. Yes.
But it's the most valuable media. Okay. Earned media is where you earn your way on to someone else's platform. So if you are interviewed on CNBC's Squawk Box, you earn your way onto their platform, which is CNBC, the cable TV channel, and CNBC.com. Now, everybody loves earned media because it gives you tremendous credibility and it's free. And they're bringing, yeah, it's free. And they're bringing all the people to the party, right? Like all of the viewers of CNBC are now seeing you. Now, earned media is hard to get. It doesn't come by with ease. And if you're not seen as an authority and thought leader, the media really doesn't care what you think. So
Right.
they just bypass you. The third form of media is rented media. That's where you're renting space on somebody else's platform. And the two main ways you would do that are, number one, social media, right? You have a profile page on LinkedIn or X or Facebook. You're connecting with people through those platforms. The other form of rented media is advertising,
Mhm.
right? You are buying your way onto someone else's platform.
Yes.
So you need to understand the three forms of media. None are implicitly bad. In fact, in many cases, you should probably be investing in all three, but owning media yourself that you have full control of is critically important.
Yes.
So going to your question about the deep fakes, the AI copies, the easiest way to do that is when the only form of media you have is rented media. Okay. When you earn your way on to CNBC, when you earn your way into the Wall Street Journal, or when you earn your way into the ABC affiliate in Honolulu, that is much harder to fake.
Yes.
I'm not saying it can't be. I'm just saying it's more difficult. When you have written and published a book that is sold on Amazon or available in bookstores, when you have on a covert.com or adamwitty.com, right? When you have assets, that's easier to fake. So the best way to protect yourself and to be authentically received by consumers is to really invest in a significant ground game in all of those areas.
Indeed. The ground game. I like that. You can have your army to help you with your ground game.
You don't have to do it all yourself. That's right.
Right. Yeah. So what are you most excited about for the future of publishing?
Yeah, there's, in my view, a lot to be excited about. I will say first that, when you think about a book, this idea that I've got to write a book that appeals to the masses, I think is a really foolish way of thinking about writing. Okay. Because to appeal to the masses, it has to be more generalized and more simple,
Gotta be romance, Adam.
right? It's got to
What
be
do
a
you think?
romance
Gotta
novel,
be a romance novel.
right? And if your book is for everybody, it's really for nobody, right? Now, I've always said the riches are in the niches. I think the more niched your book can be, meaning it is written on a very specific topic for a very specific person,
Yes,
the more niched that your book can be, the more beneficial it is for that reader.
absolutely.
Now, the reading audience might be much smaller, but it's much more valuable. And so over the last probably 20 years, um, print on demand, digital printing has in many ways democratized publishing. Now, democratizing publishing is good in the sense that it's now available to more people and it's now economically acceptable for you to niche your content. The downside is there's more noise, right? So it's just harder to stand out. But I believe, and one of the things that I'm most excited about is as publishing becomes more democratized, and AI will democratize it even more. It will be a way for niche thought leaders to connect with their audience even more easily than it is today. So that I'm very, very excited about. The second thing that I'm excited about is I really do believe that as our lives become more digital, I think many people, I won't say most, but I think many people will actually seek refuge outside of that digital world. And I think real physical books. Now,
Yes.
I love audiobooks. I have a Kindle. I love ebooks, but like real books, I think actually will continue to be relevant and meaningful for those people. And
You're
so
right. Yeah.
I'm excited about the role that books can play in a new, more digitally oriented future.
Well, and I really resonated with that visualization you gave me of the bookshelf, and what's in the bookshelf. And even for me, coffee table books have always been something that I've been very attracted to. I've come from a family of artists, so I've got one side is like, art books, and the other side is like, th- th- philosophy books or thought books or whatever it might be. And now that I've been introduced with through the Forbes network, I love our little social platform and having a lot of guests on. We're doing book swaps. So I have a whole stack of books that I love right in my gym that I read on, and with you. I like to touch the paper. I want to, it's a totally different experience. Traveling, that's easier to have your Kindle, right? Because before, I remember when we used to go on vacations and you wanted to bring, like, you had like a full bag of books with you.
Yeah.
That was at least me. And like, you get carpal tunnel, I'm like holding up the book in the, in under the covers in the dark, right? But other than that, I think that you want to be able to reference it. You want to look at it. And even if no one else looks at it, I look at them and I think to myself, wow, like these are all the things that I've been inspired by.
Yeah, you go back to whether you walk into somebody's office or whether you walk into somebody's home, there's few things that communicate to people who you are as a person more than, better than, what would I find on your bookshelf?
What is your favorite book? And I know that's gonna be like
Oh,
almost an impossible thing to so maybe make you think back to one of your favorite books, when you were in college or like as a
yeah.
child, or what stands out as one of your favorite books you've ever read?
Yeah, so I'll give you a handful of great books
Okay,
that
goody.
that have been meaningful and important to me. So I would say as an entrepreneur, I read a lot of business books. And some of the ones that have been very impactful for me, one who is an author and actually a board member of ours, Scaling Up by Vern Harnish.
I read
I
that
think
one.
I think a
Yep.
critically important book for entrepreneurs that are trying to grow and scale. This one is a bit out of left field. The Discipline of Market Leaders, I think is very instructive and informative about how do great companies become that way. And that is they focus and say, we're going to be good at one or two things, and we're going to forget about the rest instead of trying to be all things to all people.
That's like creating that flywheel kind of thing, right? You need to be
Uh,
very disciplined.
100%. You know, Shoe Dog, which is a biography, it's an autobiography by the founder of Nike. That was a really fun and impactful book. It really brought to light, here's Phil Knight, founder of Nike, who's a billionaire, and one of the, probably one of the most known brands in the world. And it's talking about, the trials and tribulations. And there were 10 different times where they were literally on the cusp of failure, and nobody would know who Nike is if it was for that, right? And so what it goes to show as an entrepreneur is, number one, how hard it is. And number two, so much of success is sometimes it's chance, sometimes it's luck. And when I mean luck, I mean, like, it's the right time, the right place, the right person comes in to kind of, maybe save the day. Like it there's more chance to success than any of us, I think, give credit.
Yes.
And we look at people that are uber successful, and maybe we compare and say, gee, like, what did I do wrong? Like, why are they so successful and so rich, and I'm not? And it's not because they're 10 times smarter. It just may be that chance favored them a little bit more than you. And to some degree, it's humbling, but also a bit refreshing too, right?
Yeah. I think you're right. I mean, it's like that, Living in Bets. Do you read that book from Annie Duke? And
Yeah,
and I really like that because I think what it taught me is that a lot of people, especially a lot of business leaders, I think, we're always looking back at a choice we made. And now, hindsight's 50/50, and we say, "Oh, well, why did I do that?" Or it was a failure. Well, no, you made that decision based off what you knew at the time, and nothing is 100%.
that's
There's
right.
probability for everything. And you might think 95%, oh, I've got a winning hand, but there's 5% chance that you don't have a winning hand. And it's that chance and it's that luck that and how you played your hand. And you
Yeah.
can't be down on yourself, right? If you're going to be an entrepreneur, you just got to keep chugging along.
Yep.
Yeah. So, where do you see the company? What's in the next 5 years? My last question for you.
Yeah. So we have an ambitious goal. We want to 3.5x the business in the next 4 years. Now, why do we want to do that? Right. Well, we want to help more people share their stories, passion, and knowledge with the world. I believe that books are the greatest educational tools in the world. I believe the right book in the right person's hand can change a person's life forever. So the more people we can help, the more impact we can have. And of course, as an entrepreneur, I love a challenge. And the challenge of scaling and growing a business is, well, it's a challenge. Like, none of it's easy, right? You look at all of the pitfalls, all the ways that businesses can fail, and be on the precipice of disaster. Like, there's many. And so the challenge of being able to thread the needle and getting most of it right, you don't have to get 100% of it right, but you got to get the majority of it right. It's a great challenge, and it keeps me young, it keeps me engaged, it keeps me intellectually curious, which I think are all good things that we should all probably strive to do. So I'm having fun.
That's wonderful. Do you have like a gigantic library with all of I mean, like you must, where do you even keep all these books? Because what is it? There are like 2000 Forbes authors out there and
I
you know?
I have a lot of books. Now, fortunately, we have a really big office, and there's lots of books scattered throughout the entire office. I have a library at home, and I have a lot of books. And, to me, that's actually, I have two children. I have a 3.5-year-old and a 1.5-year-old.
Oh, wow.
And to me, actually, one of the greatest treasures that I will be able to pass on to my children are my books.
Wow,
And
that's
so
wonderful.
I think everybody should have a library.
I want a lot. I have a couple shelves, but at the end of my shelves. I need more shelves.
You,
We're
you,
a full library for sure.
yeah, what you have is what we call a library in paradise.
Right. That's it. That's it. Well,
You know,
thank you so much for being here.
what one last thing that I'm going to share with your listeners, something that they can do today. So we talked about Google your name, see what you find. The other thing I'll say is if you don't own your domain, go buy that now, which is, for me, it's adamwitty.com, first name, last name.com. And if you don't own that, buy it now. And while you're at it, buy it for your children too. The last thing I'll say is because authority and thought leadership, I think, is more important now than ever, and it's authentic authority. Really think about what makes you unique and different, and embed that into your teaching and your education, right? I mean, for you, Anna, Hawaii is a part of your brand, and
Yes.
it's very unique. It's very different. Of course, most people dream of visiting Hawaii if they haven't had the chance, and so it's something that's very memorable. For me, I am a pilot. I'm the pilot publisher, and so I talk about flying and the skills needed and how it relates to writing a book. And a lot of the times when I speak, I fly to my own speaking engagements, and
Wow.
it's just kind of a cool, like, personal anecdote that brings home the authenticity of what I'm sharing. So my final recommendation for all of your listeners as they're thinking about how do I start, take baby steps, do one thing at a time, and also give thought to, what makes you different and unique, and really incorporate that into your teaching. And your teaching, it could be a book, it could be a blog, it could be a podcast, it could be an article, it could be speaking, it could be YouTube videos, it could be all of the above. But just start with something and make it distinctly you.
I think that's really good. It's very good recommendation. And, those are the things that you really remember about someone, right? It's like, it's so easy to forget a name, but if you put that name with more than just a company title, right, then you have that synergy that stands out.
That's right.
So thank you for being here. And I'll give you a quick little story. So when we were publishing my book, I did not own onacovert.com. And so I went online to try to buy it, and it was taken by someone else. But I had every other combination on a M covert, on every combination you could get. And I went after trying to get the domain, which I now own. But it was a vigorous process, and I did buy my daughters at the same time. And so that's a really good recommendation for everyone to buy not just your name, but your middle initial as well. And and if you plan on being a doctor, it should be doctor your name and every combination.
Right.
Yes.
That's right.
Yep. So how can people get a hold of you?
Yeah, so they can visit me online, theauthoritycompany.com. They can connect with me on LinkedIn, which is one of those great rented media platforms. That is my most active, engaged place on social media, is LinkedIn. They can send me an email, awitty@theauthoritycompany.com. Or they can listen to one of my podcasts. They can buy my book, The Authority Advantage, which is available on Amazon. And I hope you'll do all of it.
Well, thank you so much for being here. And thank you to all my listeners. Please join me next week as I interview another industry expert and a topic to help you succeed on and offline. Big mahalo to everyone who's listening right now. We just reached 65,000 subscribers on YouTube, and that's because of you and your aloha. So if you have not yet, please subscribe to this channel, share with your friends and family so that I can continue to get great, thought leaders like Adam on the show to share their aloha with us all. And I will see you next week in the Pixels.
Thank you, Anna.
I hope you enjoyed this episode of the Covert Code Podcast. If you're loving the insights we share here, don't forget to follow us on your favorite podcast platform and leave a review. Your support helps us reach more digital innovators like you. Share this episode with your friends and colleagues on social media and help spread the word. And if you're in the solar space or just curious about where clean energy is headed, I'm thrilled to announce my brand new podcast, The Solar Coaster. This show digs into the real stories, trends, and challenges of the solar industry, with bold conversations and powerful takeaways you won't hear anywhere else. Follow the Solar Coaster now so you don't miss a single episode. Thanks for tuning in. See you in the Pixels. Aloha.